Hi everybody! So today's video is going to be about what kind of questions you should ask when you are interviewing for a teaching job abroad. I've been teaching English as a second language in Hong Kong for about 9 months now, so some of these questions might be kind of geared towards that, but hopefully they'll kind of translate to all teaching jobs abroad. I've also been working in a language center and not an actual international school, so yet again, the questions might be kind of a little bit geared towards that, but hopefully they will translate whether you're teaching English or teaching science or drama or whatever you are. Hopefully these will help you guys out. If you have any other questions after this video, please comment down below, and okay, I guess we'll get started. The first thing you want to ask might not be as needed if you're gonna work in an actual school. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but for a learning center you want to make sure you ask how many actual teaching hours you're gonna have. When I took the CELTA, my instructor informed us to try not to take a job that had more than like 22 teaching hours if you were gonna have to prepare your own lessons, because she said that she knew of people that were teaching like 10 classes and they had like 30 teaching hours and they still had to prep lessons for every single class, and they were all different ages and nothing overlapped, and it was just a nightmare basically. So she said if you're prepping your own lessons, you want to make sure that you're only teaching like 20 to 22 hours. My actual situation is a learning center where I'm actually teaching 30 hours, no more than 30 hours, but it's basically always 30 hours, but I'm not having to do any lesson prep whatsoever. They have a curriculum, everything is prepped. I have to just kind of like organize my classes, schedule them, and maybe do some printing, but for the most part, like, I never have to take anything home with me. When I'm done with work, I go home and I forget about my job until the next day. So for that kind of job, 30 hours is fine. It's about 6 hours each day, 5 days a week, and it's fine, but I can't imagine having to prep lessons on top of that. The second question to ask, which is kind of a follow-up to that, is am I gonna have to prep my own classes? That is a huge one. If you are teaching in a school, most likely you're probably gonna have to prep your own classes. But if you're in a learning center, you might be lucky and they might have their own curriculum or their own lesson plans and everything like that. That is how my job is, and it makes my life so easy, so stress-free, and it's great. But that's not always the case. And I'm not saying that lesson prep is a bad thing. It's actually really good and it gives you really great experience. But you want to make sure that you are mentally prepared for what you're going to have to do. So make sure you ask, like, do they have their own curriculum? Do they have their own lesson plans? Or am I going to have to develop all my own lessons? Because that could potentially be a deal breaker between this job and this job. Now, this third question is something that I did not ask, and I have had to pay the consequences for it, is make sure you ask about dress code. I did not ask about dress code, and I showed up in Hong Kong with like dress pants, really nice blouses, really nice shoes, all this, like, half my clothing that I brought was like nice business casual, but that's not at all what we wear at my job. My job is super casual. You can wear shorts, you can wear sandals, you can wear business casual if you want, but you look like a fool. So like half of what I brought I've never worn. Like, I've never put on a pair of black pants since I moved here in 9 months. So, and I'm a really light packer, so it was so aggravating that I left like all this nice casual stuff at home and all this dressy stuff that I never wear. Like, I brought heels. I've never worn heels once. So that was really frustrating, and so I really wish that I had asked about dress code. So make sure you ask, because you don't want to show up with the completely wrong thing. The next thing you want to ask is about the age of students that you will be teaching. A lot of ESL jobs, it's broad, it says children to adults, so they might not be able to give you a very good number. But for like my company, they were really straightforward with me when I interviewed. They told me, age like 3 to 13, and it has been right in that window. However, some people that have come into my company later have said that the company during the interview told them they'd be teaching teenagers, which I don't know what went wrong with that communication. I don't know whether the teacher wasn't listening when they were interviewing, or if the interviewer themselves was completely untruthful and just wanted them to take the job. I don't know. I wasn't there, obviously. But needless to say, they showed up at the job and they're really frustrated and really disappointed because they were expecting to teach, teenagers, and they're teaching 3-year-olds and they don't like little kids. So be sure you ask specifically about the age. And if you you have a preference, if it's one of those jobs that say like, you know, children to adults, if you have a preference, make sure you let them know. I mean, it doesn't mean that you'll never be teaching kids, but if you really don't want to teach kids, they will probably try and work with you and, you know, focus your classes towards older students, because there's probably other teachers that feel the exact opposite from you. So be honest, but make sure you ask them to clarify that specifically. Last thing you want to be sure to ask about is the accommodation, if your school happens to offer accommodation. There's been a lot of horror stories that I've heard about people that have been in really horrible accommodations, whether it's, you know, the company was not truthful about where they were going to put you, or it turned out to be really far away, or whatever. So make sure you have a lot of questions lined up for the accommodation. Like, what is the policy to leave the accommodation? That is really important, because you might get to the accommodation and it's really far away from your school, or you hate your roommates, or it's just a unsafe location and you want to leave. You want to make sure you are able to leave without paying this huge fee, or, you know, having to live there for 6 months and then be able to leave. Ask about the policy for leaving the accommodation. You also want to ask about, you know, is it shared accommodation? Is it private accommodation? Is it within walking distance of the school, or am I going to have to take public transportation? And if I take public transportation, am I going to get a transportation allowance? You can even do follow-up questions about what is the average cost of living where you are moving. Like in Hong Kong, it's basically, or it is, the most expensive housing market in the entire world. So living privately on your own is hella expensive versus having roommates. So you want to make sure you kind of do that own research, and you can ask those kind of questions as well. So that's it for this video. If you have any other questions, let me know, comment down below, and maybe I'll do a part 2 of this video, because I know that, you know, uprooting your life and moving across the world is daunting and you have a lot of questions. So I'd be pleased to do another video if this was helpful to you. If you are pursuing ESL, check out my other videos, or check out my blog, gracegoesglobal.com, and as always, you know, like this video, subscribe, and yeah, I love to hear from you guys, so comment down below and we can chat a little bit. So, bye!